Okay, so this is the last lesson of combustion unit 8E. So this lesson explains the ways in which you can reduce the pollution, right? So this is the textbook lesson, but before I go to this, let me just explain what is given here using a short note, right? Okay, so you can see here, if you are to reduce the pollution from the cars, the governments of each country should take an action against that, right? So there are different ways in which governments can reduce pollution. Now, for some cases, they can introduce a tax, or they can have some sort of restrictions, or they can have some sort of testing to do. Okay, right, the first one is about the road tax. So if a vehicle is having a bigger engine, they have to pay more tax. If a vehicle is giving out low emissions, then they have to pay less tax, right? Then another one they can have is the fuel taxes. If they increase the fuel prices, then people are not going to use much fuel because it's costly. So what are they turning for? They will tend to go in public transportation or by cycling or walking, right? So this is another type of tax they can introduce. Then another one is congestion charges. This is if there are busy cities, right? Busy cities have a lot of vehicles, lot of people traveling up and down. So then there will be higher pollution. To reduce that, to avoid people who don't need to really come there, they can introduce a congestion charges where the drivers have to pay a small fee to enter the busy cities at busy times. Is it clear? So then this will avoid unwanted people visiting at busy hours. So this will decrease the pollution. Is that clear? Then another one is this also will encourage people to use public transport, because if they go in their own vehicle, they have to pay a small entrance fee. But if they use a public transport, they can reduce it. So people tend to go in this one. This is also once again reducing the emission of carbon dioxide and all the other greenhouse gases, right? Another one is travel restrictions. So for travel restrictions, there can be limits on days how the cars can be used. Another one is reducing the number of vehicles. So this is something that they can have. And the last one, they can have annual emissions test. So in this, using these tests, they can test using these they can test if the cars are having any kind of emissions which will lead to pollution. If there's too much of pollutions, then they can say that the test is failed and this will not allow the cars to be driven, right? So these are some ways that government can influence on the way how the pollution is affecting people. So these methods, they can contribute to the reduction of pollution. Another part what you have to discuss here is, if you are to use cleaner car technologies, there are 4 main things they are talking in this lesson. So one is electric cars. If you use the electric cars, there's an advantage that there's no pollution from the car itself. But there's a disadvantage because the electricity is needed for these cars to travel. But the electricity production may cause pollution because electricity generation is again releasing greenhouse gases. Then the second one is biofuels. Fuel is made from plants. Example is bioethanol. So this is an advantage. Another advantage is it can reduce carbon dioxide emissions by about 70%. So there's a huge difference, huge reduction. Another one is hydrogen fuel. Hydrogen fuel also there are advantages and disadvantages. One advantage is it produces water instead of carbon dioxide. And it's a very clean fuel. But on the other hand, it's expensive and it's difficult to store. If you don't store it in a proper controlled manner, it can be highly flammable. So the last method is stop start technology. So this means the engine stops at traffic lights, and when needed the engine is restarting. So from this, one benefit for the drivers is it uses less fuel, so less costly for them. And another one advantage for the environment is it's producing less pollution. So these are the factors you should know about cleaner car technologies. So overall, if you see, if less fuel is burned, less carbon dioxide will be produced, which leads to less air pollution and slower global warming. These are the main things discussed in this last lesson of this unit. Now let's go back to the textbook. Okay, so now we have come to the last lesson in the textbook. So here all the things we discussed is given in a little bit of detail. So here in picture A, it shows how electric cars are charged. Can you see there are points where you can charge them? But only thing, it's reducing the pollution from the car, but electricity power stations are releasing these gases which can cause more pollution. And here in B, it's showing a factory. Waste material from making sugar is used to produce bioethanol, a biofuel. Using ethanol can reduce carbon dioxide emissions by up to 70%. So this is a sugar factory. So in a sugar factory, the waste material which is coming from there, they are making it, they are producing the bioethanol, a kind of biofuel using that waste. Right, so it's a factory where it's done. Right, let's see now so far what we have learned. See if you can write the answers for this. You have to identify one advantage and one disadvantage in terms of pollution. Right, not in terms of cost, in terms of pollution, of choosing an electric car rather than a diesel or petrol one. Can you tell one? One advantage and one disadvantage. Okay, so can you tell me one advantage?
Electric cars don't pollute, no pollution from the car itself.
Yes, no pollution from the car itself. Disadvantage?
Electricity production may cause pollution.
Electricity production may cause
Pollution.
pollution. Yes. Question 2. Right, for the second question they are telling to write an advantage and a disadvantage of using hydrogen as a fuel for cars. What is the advantage of using hydrogen as a fuel?
The advantage is reduces hydrogen instead of carbon dioxide.
Produce H2O is water. So I'll write water here. Produce water instead of carbon dioxide. Disadvantage is expensive.
Or difficult to store.
Expensive. Yeah, difficult to store. One they're asking, so this is enough. Right. Question 3. Some new cars have stop-start technology, where the engine stops when the car is not working or moving, such as at traffic lights. Explain how this is useful for the driver and for the local population. Now in terms of the drivers, how can it be beneficial? It's saving,
Saves
saves the fuel,
in
saves the fuel consumption, right? Then for B, in terms of local pollution,
produces less pollution.
produces less pollution. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Right. So for question 4, for each of the bulleted points in the list on the left, that means it's referring to these points here. Explain why this could help reduce pollution. So for each point you have to say how it's going to reduce the pollution, right? Now see, if the road tax is implemented, it encourages use of less polluting vehicle. See, use of let's take my other pen, right? So use of less polluting vehicles, that is for the road tax. Then for annual test, it's going to remove cars that are emitting too much pollution. Can you see?
Yes.
Then congestion charges. This is where people from driving in areas where there are lots of people traveling around, so lower pollution level. I can't underline that, then you will not be able to see this answer. Right, then for the next one, fuel prices encourage people to use less polluting forms of transport. So then when the fuel prices are too much, people don't like to spend a lot on that, so they can rely on these forms of transportation. Last one, travel restriction lowers pollution in areas where there are lots of people traveling around and encourages people to use less polluting forms of transport. So this method encourages people to use less polluting forms of transport. Okay, so here also I'll try to underline. Right, so these are the ways in which each point can help in reducing pollution. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Right. So that's about it regarding this last lesson, and with that we have concluded unit 8E combustion. So far, if there are any questions that you have, you can just let us know by a comment, and see you next time with the next chemistry unit, which is about the periodic table.